everyone. A very good evening, and I welcome you all to Try Chat and Community by Word Palette. I'm Chris Malika Bhadra, and today or tonight, depending on wherever you're watching us from, I'm joined by Dr. Pravati Panigrahi from Pink Umbrella International, and we're going to have this discussion based on Sexual Awareness Month. Pravati, thank you for joining us. Very good evening. And sorry, before I introduce you to our audience, I would just quickly like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we are meeting tonight, the people of the Green Nation, and I would also like to extend my respect to the elders, past, present, and emerging. Back to you, Pravati. How are you doing?
Thank you so much. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. It's from Canberra today. And thank you, Chris, for allowing me to. It's a great pleasure to be here.
It's not
Yeah,
me, it's also Alia. She's in the background,
yes,
but yeah,
Alia,
it's
yes.
all us.
Yeah,
Thanks
yeah,
for that.
great. Thanks,
Um,
Alia. Yep.
Pravati, thank you for having this conversation. It's very, very relevant and topical. It's more so because we are in the 21st century, the advent of chat GPT, technology, and
Mm.
whatnot.
Mm.
But I'd like to start from the home ground, right? Parental education and awareness. What, in your opinion, what is the right time to have this conversation over the dinner table with your children? And how do you discuss parental control on technology? And what should be the perfect home atmosphere be like?
Yeah, absolutely. See, before parents, I'll let the audience and all viewers know that this is a sexual awareness month. Why we're bringing sexual a whole month for this is so relevant in current situation, particularly with the digital era and where everywhere we are seeing it. It was something different 20 years back. At least we have a restricted media, but now it is everywhere in the bedroom, in the bathroom, in toilet, everywhere we are exposed to the outside world. And now to come back to your questions, why we had to how the parent can educate and how they can start the conversation. It's really scary situation for parents as well, because now young people, they're much more experts, much more ahead in using the technology, which parents they don't know. And they keep chatting. They even there are Snapchat, for example, like it stays for a very short while. But parents need to be taught as well how to educate is appropriate education for their child. That Snapchat is not safe as well, because that will be can be returned by right people, can be they can do the screenshot as well. Okay, so it is important to be friend with them, to have a comfortable situation and give the trust, like they can trust you and then come back. Obviously they cannot talk everything, but give that assurance that everything online is not safe. And it's important that we must know about our body, and we must give as a parents the right name to that. We should not give false name and educate them, what is a part of the body, for example, what is breast, what is male physical body, penis or vagina. We should give the right name to them, so they won't be hesitant to talk to parents. So parents are the first person who can give that assurance that these are the body, and any abnormal touch is abnormal, because there is an instinct even for a child that something is not right. Somebody is
Yeah.
touching you in an inappropriate way. So give that assurance to the child that if something happens like that, it doesn't matter. It's a family member, it's a friend, it's a close friend. So that assurance
Yeah.
must come from the parents, either both from
Yeah.
father and mother. And that's why it's important
Right.
also parents learn how to talk as appropriate teaching related to sex and body.
Yeah. Right,
And
you've
and
raised
just
very good points about touch, physical consent, and touch. But often we see that, in South Asian, I'm talking about South Asian diaspora, we have elders where they often ask the children to sit on their laps, and where the parents can't
mm,
really say no because what will the elders think, and all that jazz starts happening, right?
yeah.
Where do the parents stand in that situation where the child may not be comfortable in sitting in that elder person's lap, but that elder is a frequent visitor and holds a
Yeah.
position of respect? What role does the parent play in that situation?
uh, that's why the parental education is the first step towards this. So it's gladly that very our current generations, they're a bit aware about it, and they're more protective for their children, because they have experienced lots of bad touch during their, like for our generation. I know
Yeah.
that lots of bad touch when we were traveling by bus, and somebody touching here, somebody touching here. And who gave them that authority? It is society. So they think that they'll be escaped from the whole situation and nobody will know. But the fear that creates for, like, I know, I like while going in the bus, for example, in my country when I was small, there are people touching from side, and I know how scary it was. I was not able to talk to anyone. And
Mm.
I'm, if you just talk to people of my generation back in India, almost 100% or 99% people will tell, well, that is some experience. So because we have experience, we learned ourselves, we taught ourselves, so we are more alert. But again, how we will keep our child safe when we are not around?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why we have to teach them, get some diagrams, do some diagrams, do some pictures. There's some books available online. So these are the parts, and that belongs to you, and it's your right. Okay. So and boys are normally less educated than us, so it's important also for boys, because boys are also molested even at a
Yeah.
young age, so we can't
Mm.
ignore that. So we must say this is the part, your personal thing, and you, if you are uncomfortable, please come to me. I'm there for you at any moment, anywhere. So that assurance must come, like, mostly in the research and survey or whatever the evidence is, it is normally your family members or somebody close to your parents, they are the people who take advantage of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a parent education is very important as well. So even if
Absolutely.
it is, don't just go by social image and frustration. It's your child. A child will go through whole life with that trauma and fear and
Mm.
anxiety, and her personality will change so much because of that fear. Because they start blaming themselves. They think it is my fault, because the abuser normally plays that trick. They say, if you tell, I will tell your mom, and your
Mm.
relationship will be hampered. And the child
Yeah.
gets scared that, oh, how can I should not be the cause for all these
Right.
relationship issues. So it's important that parents need to be taught very well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Probably moving on to the difference of the first place of learning for a child is obviously the home ground, right? And the
Mhm.
second place is the school. So,
Yeah.
what are the kind of conversations or safe words that the teachers should be telling the students?
See, when it comes to education, as I said, like, it starts with parents, and
Mm.
also parents are the teacher here,
Yeah.
and they send their child with the trust that school will be very safe place for them, right?
Mm.
So there are two things: one from teacher side, another education, like how when the child goes outside, are we educating the child well enough
Right.
so that they are safe and they feel confident? So the school education is very very important. School education has to be age appropriate, like primary
Mm.
school and secondary school and university. And so the education has to be in a very right way, very soft way, but you must be firm on what you are teaching them. So
Mm.
education comes from teacher, education also comes from parents. So bring a parent teacher relationship, build up that relationship, give some workshop, like arrange some workshop. First, bring the parent into them, be inclusive, bring the parent into the forum, let them be a part of education panel as well. So
Mm.
it happens, you can do stepwise. Like, first bring the trust of parents, educate the parents, and bring them into the school, and create a platform through different kind of activities, like playing activities or art activity, and start the
Mm.
discussion
Right.
with them. And so parent teacher workshop, then come to student. It can be through online if it's their adult, I mean their teen, or you can start workshop with a proper professional being the responsible person to teach. Or
Right.
say, parents involvement is absolutely crucial here.
Absolutely. But Prati, when we talk about imparting sex education in schools, do you think that should be gender neutral, the way the education is imparted to the children in school, or should there be a different method in maybe counseling the children or how you approach the topic to the children after a particular age? What has your experience been like in this area?
Gender neutral for a certain types, like, yes, when they are small we can still talk about a gender neutral topic,
Yeah.
but when it comes to teenage, really they are like a young girl and a young man, they have a very difference. Like there's a huge gap in the education, what we teach normally to young girl and what we teach to the young boys. And maybe we are teaching bit more to the girls that okay, this is the menstruation happens, like this is how you have to prepare yourself. I think for generation we are teaching girls about it, particularly the body, but you don't teach anything to the young boys. So they become curious. It's very natural for them to be curious to know what's happening. And they, if we are not teaching them what is masturbation. Honestly, there is a movie that very recently I watched. Oh my god, that's a movie. It's a very, if you didn't watch, please watch that,
Yeah.
anyone. How it is important to talk about masturbation for boys. Like, okay, it's not a scene, it's a part of, if you teach them the right way, they won't feel depressed, they won't feel guilty, they won't feel isolated. Same thing with girls as well. If you teach them what is like how their body will grow, they should not be conscious, and then bring them into common forum and just start the conversation so they will be comfortable in that conversation, and they should know this how to talk respectfully, because it's part of normal activity, normal body. And so how to respect another gender in a right way, so they won't be too curious, they won't be like abusive, or they won't circulate what are the image they are circulating. So once you are taught well, you don't have that curiosity or
Yeah.
that odd
Right.
attitude. Yeah.
Right. But Pravati, speaking on sex education, I haven't watched that movie, but I've heard quite a bit. But I
Mm,
do have watched the entire series of sex education, and
yeah.
I loved it. The way they've opened up so many different topics and the vulnerability of the topic, so many
Yeah.
things. I think it's a must-watch series.
Mm.
But do we take this topic seriously enough? And we have another question on that note that I'll just show up because I think you can answer both of them together. Saleh is asking, what is the right age to be starting this conversation?
I think we can start talk, because if you see the real evidence of what newspapers telling and what really happens,
Mm.
it actually when a very very young girl also gets sexually abused,
Yeah.
like 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. Sadly, this thing happens,
Mm.
and so we are not telling exactly what, but we can teach them. So this is what it is, your body,
Mm.
and if somebody touches, this is, so don't hide anything. This is how body. So I think 3 years when they start speaking,
Mm.
I think we can at least teach them. Okay, this is what, and they are normally trust. They come back if they trust you very well, unless they're scared. And also notice them that is something behavior change is happening. If she wants to stay alone, if she's scared if someone comes home, it is very reluctant to go to particular person. So please don't ignore that. I think every age is important.
Yeah.
Starting from 2 3 years onward, we should teach in a, yeah.
Right.
So to your question, I think 2 years onward or one and a
Two
half
years.
years. When
Yeah.
they start talking, then we
When
start
this one
talking.
goes.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
on that note, we have a follow-up question from Saleh again, and she's asking, what words can you use for a 2-year-old?
Use the right word. Use whatever is the medical word. For example, it's vagina. I don't know. So use that word and
Mm.
tell. There is no nickname for that. Okay, so that is actually the education nowadays to all the parents. Now
Right.
that is, I think, most appropriate. Tell what it is.
Okay.
So don't hide. Don't give ABC name and any other name. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. We were talking about digital presence in our lives a while ago, Pravati, and on that note, I would like to bring up the topic of porn or pornography,
Mm,
right?
hmm.
Well, at one point of time, all of us have seen it or whatever. It's quite natural. I don't want to stigmatize it. It's natural. But what are the other effects that pornography can have on your life, Pravati? The side effects,
Yeah.
maybe.
So we are talking about pornography, and the last 15 years has dramatically increased that incidences of watching pornography, because it is easily available, right? Initially, they will have CDs and all this, so physically they had to carry that. Now it is all online, and they can do anywhere. And there are lots of app there where it is easily available, and simultaneously lots of gaming
Yeah,
group, so
yeah.
they use game, is a sexual molestation. So they give points if you do that. And it's very sad this kind of situation happening. A child get hooked to that because the child is getting points, and they do this game because they have searched research very well with the psychology of child, and they promote that. And unfortunately parent doesn't know. They think that they are just playing. And why, if child suddenly incidents, I have to tell this, Krish, because
Sure.
parent need to know. Suddenly, if child is closing the door, see he wants or she wants to do something very isolated, you have to be a bit alert, like something not very right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so it's important to educate, tell them that this could be dangerous, like
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you are watched by someone you don't know, and at some stage you might like give them some examples what could happen. And arrange some kind of, I would say the school should arrange some education from, for example, I told last time also, the e-safety commission, they give lots and lots of workshop and webinar. The school should educate that to students, how the online pornography can damage, how what are the apps they should not use. And this should also educate the parents about this kind of technology facilitated abuse. And now I have to tell this because this is important for all the
Yeah.
viewers to know. And the other thing you asked is pornography. It is 99% people are watching pornography, but is the age appropriate? But unfortunately, we can't control that. But let us educate them what harm it could do to them,
Yeah.
right? So if you're not teaching them right education, they'll go to pornography. But if you're giving them education and then they are watching pornography, at least they won't think that is real. They will know that is virtual, that's artificial, that is dramatized, and this is real. So education, so they can differentiate between, at least they can think this is not real. And pornography also can affect your relationship in future, because you start imagining pornography as the real, and when you face the real situation, real in your relationship, it won't satisfy you,
Yeah.
because that instant thing doesn't happen in real life,
Yeah.
and that might affect your married life as well. So that is in terms of relationship. If you talk me as a medical doctor, what it could happen, what it could do to your brain, your physiology changes over the period. When it's an addiction,
Yeah.
it's definitely an addiction, and you will find all ways to go and watch that. It's just like smoking, just like alcohol addiction, just like drug addiction. It will shrink your brain, and you'll hook you into the path, and so your cycle of hormone and the cycle gets
Yeah.
affected. So it's critical, and you can, for boys, you could have incontinence in future. You can have sexual dysfunction. You can have lots of problem related
Right.
to that.
Right.
So it is just not watching and fun. It is actually changing your brain. Because if you really realize that, you must act and must talk to your GP or de-addiction doctor, the physician who can work with you for
Yeah.
de-addiction.
Yeah.
So don't be shy, because it is affecting you. It's affecting your relationship. It's affecting your own physiology, your body. So it's important we also know about it.
Absolutely, Pravati. I want to also talk about parental control when we talk about digital safety. But just one question that sprung up in my mind while you were talking about overuse of pornography and its harmful effects on relationships. Do you think that if I'm addicted to pornography, this could also cloud my judgment about my partner's consent? Does it interfere in my opinion of what consent is in a relationship?
Totally, because we are so addicted. Just like as I was giving examples of smoking, for examples, we all know that smoking is harmful, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Even many physicians and many people, they know that it is harmful, and we are well educated to know that it is harmful. But we can't control that, right? We
Yeah.
do, and that time, even if somebody tells you don't do, we think he's the enemy, like he's really controlling my rights. And that is same thing happens for pornography addiction and your relationship. And
Mm.
in pornography, we do watch that there are they beat and the physically they abuse actually, and that is fun, and that is how the images the pornography film they tell that yeah, if you're hitting your partner that time, that's a kind of sexual arousing like arousal, but that's
Mm.
not true. And the same thing you apply in your relationship and somebody says no to that, you think it's like she's disobedient or disrespecting my choice,
Yeah.
and obviously you are not agreeing, allowing that time for consent to take the consent, and you're breaking that respect, breaking that
Mm.
dignity of your partner.
Yeah.
So definitely, yeah, violating that.
Now, thank you for answering that, Pravati. But I'll come back to parental control. So, I've heard about parents having locks on technology or some apps after a certain period of time so that children can't access. Do you think that helps in streamlining this conversation and for the child's safety if you have parental lock on social media and apps?
Yeah, that we can do up to a certain age. Like when they are young, like yes, gives a certain time periods.
Mm.
Yes, we can't completely stop them. If you'll stop them, they'll do it somewhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, talk to them. Say okay, let us do. Let's agree to something, and this is your timing. Like let's
Mm.
do that. Okay,
Mm.
and it's in social media also. It's better parents to be a friend in that. Like up to a certain age, of course, after a certain age, they don't like it. In that case, I think we have to have a continuous conversation
Right.
and be a friend. I think that is very important. Be a friend, keep talking to them what they're watching
Mm.
and why it is harmful, and just be open to them. And that is the difficult part for parents, because we are not educated enough to talk about all these details, and that is though it's easy to talk now, but it's very difficult to talk with your own
Implement it.
child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But Pravati, when you talk about parents, I agree it's not easy for a South Asian parent who's migrated. It's so much to unpack, right? You have to unlearn
Mm.
what you learned as a child, where these conversations were almost taboo, and now you suddenly are kind of encouraged to have open conversations with your children. How can we get the parents to unlearn what they've learned for so many years?
That is why, like I say, there is a website I was sharing with you, the Sexual Education Victoria, Australia.
Hmm. True.
So fantastic job they are doing. So go and like arrange some. Go to your school. Go to your school. Say this is what I want to arrange a parental. If you are educated enough, you are concerned for your child. You're concerned
Hmm.
for some other WhatsApp group where your child is getting pornography images of the colleague or friends or
Hmm.
some classmate or some other school's girls. So obviously that's a very worrying thing. Go to your school and tell that, okay, let us arrange a workshop. So
Right.
contact Sexual Education Victoria or safety and arrange. And just I think this parent need to take the first step here as a
Hmm.
group.
Yeah.
So I believe I explained to
Yeah,
your
yeah, because I
question.
was
Yeah.
thinking that I don't think parents, when girls come of age, we have open conversations around protection or morning
Mm.
after pills or what harm or what good are they for, or even having condoms in handy. Because if you're just kind of experimenting your sexual life, how can we get these conversations easily flowing across both sides of the table?
Well, yeah, that's see, as we grow more mature, like our children are much more mature in their age than
Yeah.
what we were when we were young, right? So we have to give them that choice. We have to bring some experts here, for example, doctors, nurses, and all,
Mm.
and show them actually how after a certain age you are all adult, right? Your sexual
Yeah.
organ
Yeah.
develops, and but you have to be very alert for your protection. Like it is like obviously it's easy to go to sexual intercourse. They will
Mm.
experiment, but what is the after effect?
Yeah.
What will happen? Just not one time, right? If suddenly she got pregnant, suddenly she got abused, or she felt abused
Mm.
without consent, and that mental trauma remains whole life. And
Right.
if she's pregnant for some reason, so that is terrible, like whole her life turns upside down.
Mm.
So education to girls is very very important in this age group.
Mm.
Education to boys in another way, that their body and also how to respect another woman, because their behavior can affect
Yeah.
your and other girls or
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
gender. So I'll give an examples of one girl who he simply shared one photo. somewhere, and that photo got circulated everywhere, and she got kept on getting a message that, and it was so harassing, like for her mental trauma. She was thinking of committing suicide and ending her life. That girl I met in Sydney, and she's a lawyer now. So what I want to say, give the message here is, it's just not your fun. It's somebody's life there,
Yeah,
and it's not fair. You must be responsible there. Even if you are 17, 14 years old, you are mature enough to understand that your fun is making somebody's life miserable. So please respect that.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you, Pravati. This was a very important conversation, but I'm also mindful of my time.
Hmm.
And I also would highly like to stress on the fact that conversations like these are not a one off conversation that you and I meet over 30, 40 minutes, have it,
Yeah.
and full stop. We need to be having these conversations periodically. So,
Yeah.
for all our listeners, if you've had something to take away from Dr. Pravati's expertise, please, if you feel unsafe, if you feel that you've been abused or you need more information, please have a chat with your parents or with your GPs. But please do reach out, because these are the things that all of us should be very, very aware about. And Pravati, once again, thank you so much for joining us on a balmy Sunday evening. This was a very topical conversation, and I hope we keep brushing past each other for conversations like these for the betterment of the community. Thank you so much for joining us, Pravati.
Thank you so much. And one line, I'll say there are lots of online counseling that's government and everybody we have. Please look at that. If you're feeling scared or anything, please
Yeah.
call them. It's very confidential and it's very
Absolutely.
professional.
No, no. Thank you, Pravati, and to all our listeners and audiences. This was another conversation on Sexual Awareness Month. I'll see you again next month with something absolutely interesting and important on Chai Chat and Community. Please keep watching us. Thank you and good night.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thanks. Please.